watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 121, implementing Dojo Scrollable Pane with XPages Mobile Controls. Take the red pill and see that there is no spoon. Okay, I've got a brand new contributor on today that I'm very excited to have, and his name is Keith Strickland. Keith is a IBM champion. He's a great XPages developer. He's a great Dojo and mobile controls guy. He's an expert in that space. He works at Red Pill Development. That is a little company made up of IBM champions and former champions, and they're doing some really incredible stuff that kind of specializes in XPages in the mobile space. They've got this product which can kind of like transform old client apps and give it a mobile look and feel interface kind of automatically. They just do a lot of stuff there. And if you work with mobile controls, as I have, I've done a lot with mobile controls. And if you're going to work with mobile controls, it's only a matter of time until you have a problem with mobile controls. So when you do have a problem with mobile controls, honestly, there's really no better place to go that I know of, I don't think, than going to Red Pill and seeing if they can help you with that. They are just experts in that space. So I'm a big fan of mobile controls, though there's a lot of things I don't like about them. But if you do have problems, give them a call, and I'm sure they can help you. But let's talk about mobile controls for a minute. So what are they? Well, mobile controls are this set of controls that just started out as a project in OpenNTF and then got rolled into the extension library and the update pack, and now come shipped with the product in Domino 9. But all iterations of them really are based on Dojo 1.6. And Domino 9 now ships with Dojo 1.8. I think technically it's 1.81. And if you go to the Dojo website, you'll see that there's a tremendous amount of features and enhancements between 1.6 and 1.8. But the mobile controls themselves haven't been updated by IBM yet. Hint, IBM, hint, hint. That would be nice if that happened. I hope it's going to happen because I'm a fan of the mobile controls to an extent. But they're missing a lot of key things. But just because they're missing a lot of these things from 1.8 doesn't mean you can't actually implement them yourself if you know how, or if you want to get Red Pill to help you do it. So all these 1.8 features are available, just like all everything in Dojo you can go to behind the scenes. Just because there's a control there on your sidebar of your control list doesn't mean you can't get to Dojo and do things with enhanced functionality. So what this video is going to show is how to get a fixed bottom tab bar into your mobile controls application, which to me was the holy grail for the longest time. And I'm excited to really get this technique on there because you can't do a fixed bottom tab bar out of the box with just XPages mobile controls. You have to extend it a little bit, which is not hard, and to get that in there. So what Keith's going to show you is basically show you how to do that. I believe he shows it in basically Domino 9 and even 853, which is kind of cool. So with all that being said, let's go to the demo.
Hello, I'm here today to show you how to implement a Dojo Scrollable Pane in your XPages mobile application. My name is Keith Strickland. I am one of the co-founders and a software engineer at Red Pill Development. I was honored to be named a 2013 IBM Champion for Collaboration Solutions. I'm the creator of XBlog, which is an XPages blogging platform. I've been a Domino developer now for the past 15 years, with the last 4 years specifically focused on XPages. If you would like to get in touch with me, here's some of my contact information. And before we get started, I'm actually making a few assumptions with this video that you're familiar with the XPages extension library mobile controls, and you're comfortable using the Package Explorer and client-side JavaScript, and that you have a Domino 853 or Domino 9 server available. So what is the Scrollable Pane? Well, it is a Dojox widget that was made available in Dojo 1.8, and what this widget does is provide you with a fixed header and a fixed footer that will stay at the bottom of the screen with a scrollable area in between. Now, the fixed footer at the bottom of the screen has actually been asked quite a bit on Stack Overflow, and within the community, people can't figure out how to put a tab bar at the bottom of their mobile X page, and that tab bar actually stay at the bottom. Well, the scrollable pane is a fix for that. Since was included in Dojo 1.8, it's already included in with your Domino server in Domino 9. However, it's not available in 8.5.3 because that's using Dojo 1.6. But that's not going to stop us from using it anyway. It does honor the device theme and has a method for implementing infinite scrolling. However, you do have to code that yourself. So the scrollable pane, actually it specs a pretty strict HTML structure. In our X page, with a mobile application, you always start off with a single page application, and then within that you put application pages. So here you can see we've got our app page with a heading inside of that, along with a div that has a Dojo type of dojox.mobile.scrollable-pane, and then a tab bar underneath that. Now the heading and the footer to be outside of the div that you're going to use for your scrollable pane. They can't go inside or it doesn't work. They'll still show up, but they'll scroll away as you scroll through the content. And so if you want them to be fixed, they have to remain outside of the scrollable pane. You'll also need to define a few Dojo attributes for your scrollable pane, namely the fixed header and fixed footer, which is the client side ID of your heading and your tab bar. So you can see here we're just using a get component with the tab bar ID, and we're returning the get client ID method call to get the client ID. You also have to define a scroll direction, either horizontal or vertical, in this case V or H, and then the fixed header and fixed footer height. The height of the heading and the tab bar is 54 pixels, and so here we've defined a value of 54 for both the header and footer height. And so for a demo, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll start with our X page, and you can see this is pretty straightforward. We have our single page app here, and we've also defined a Dojo module resource with its name being dojox.mobile.scrollable-pane. And this is how you would implement really any Dojo widget within your XPages application that doesn't already have a component. And then you can see we've got a script block here at the bottom, which we'll come back to in just a second. And now this is our application page, which resides within the single page application. You can see it's laid out just like in the slide. We have the application page, a heading, our div, which will be our scrollable pane that has a Dojo type of dojox.mobile.scrollable-pane. We've defined our fixed header and footer client side IDs, the scroll direction, the height for our header and footer. Within the scrollable pane, we also have a data view, which will contain our content. And then finally, we have the tab bar. Now, if that's as far as you go and you come and load up your scrollable pane, this is what you'll be presented with. Well, okay, that's kind of cool. Not really. Where's all of our content? And if we inspect this, we'll see that content is actually there. It's just not visible. And the reason why it's not visible is that whenever the scrollable pane loads up, it doesn't know what size the viewport is. And so there's actually a scrollable pane in between this tab bar and the heading. It just has a height of 0 pixels, so we can't see it. So you can see we have data. Here's all the rows from our data view. It's just that they're not visible. And so whenever this thing, after the scrollable pane is initialized, it has a function as part of the widget called resize, which just forces it to resize to figure out the size of the viewport and to resize to that size. And so if we call that manually, you can see we now have content. However, you can't expect your users to do that. So that actually brings us back to the script block. And so in this script block, we've defined a resize function, which will just go get all of the scrollable panes, loop through them, and call resize on each one. We also call the resize function whenever this on the initial load, so that it resizes our landing page. And then I also get all of the application pages, loop through those, and connect to the on after transition in event. And what that allows is whenever we move to a scrollable pane, it will get resized and we'll be able to see the content automatically. That way we don't have to keep track of which one has been resized, which one hasn't. That just turns into a mess. However, if you have a large mobile application, you will want to go through the trouble of figuring out what you're landing on in order to resize it. And so if we look at this with our script implemented, you can see we get our content right off the bat. You can open documents, you can scroll up and down, and one way to tell if it's working, you can drag down like that and you get the nice little bounce where it bounces back up to the top. If you've done something wrong, I found that instead of the bounce, you'll drag it down, but when you let go, it'll just stay wherever you let it go. And that's a good indicator that something isn't quite right. All right, and just to show that this tab bar is staying at the bottom, not because of the content within the scrollable pane, but because of the scrollable pane, I've put together a little short view here with just a few records, and you can see our tab bar still resides at the bottom. And so that should address the issue of people not being able to get the tab bar to stay at the bottom, or going through some CSS magic to get it to stay there without all the flickering and jumping around. And so to implement this in Domino 853 is kind of similar. There's a few more steps involved. The best way to start is to just go download Dojo 1.8 from the Dojo website. Once you got that and you unzip it, you'll need to import some files into your NSF. So the files I have listed here, you'll need to import into your web content, your organization, Dojo's mobile folder, which you'll have to create. And for the rest of this demonstration, instead of your org, I'll be referring to Red Pill, as that's what I've named mine. But once you do this, you'll need to modify each of these files and modify the define and declare statements of each to include the proper path. So, and I'll show you that. You can also make any other modifications you like to these files to add your own functionality. And we'll incorporate it just like we did with Domino 9 as far as markup, but the only difference will be that you'll have the redpill.dojox.mobile.scrollable pane Dojo type for your scrollable pane instead of just the plain dojox.mobile one. You also need to define the module path for your new widget namespace, and include the scrollable pane as a resource using dojo.require, as there is no resource actually defined for any widgets that you create. And so let's take a look at that. So in the Package Explorer, here you can see we've got our NSF, and I've created a red pill Dojo's mobile collection of folders. And within that, I imported, just using the context menu import option and then picking the file system, I imported these files into here. Now, once you do that, you'll need to modify this define statement and include your namespace here. And also this declare statement and include the namespace here. Now, Dojo widgets behave kind of like class files in that you can extend other Dojo widgets to take advantage of their functionality. And so this one extends pane and scrollable mix-in. So if we look at scrollable mix-in, you can see that we've modified our define and our declare statement here. But if we scroll further down, there is a function here called startup. And this runs after the widget is initialized. And so this would be a great place to include our resize call, so we don't have to handle that within a script block on the page. And so if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can see I've added a function called startup, which will override the startup function in scrollable mix-in. But I still want it to do what the startup function in scrollable mix-in already did. So you just include this .inherited arguments call, and so it will go ahead and run the startup method in scrollable mix-in. But then once it's done, we call resize on this widget. And that way, every time any scrollable pane is initialized, it will go ahead and do the resize for us, and we don't have to handle that within a script block. And so let's go ahead and take a look at our XPage and custom control. Here's the XPage. It's laid out exactly as the Domino 9 version, except you notice we do not have a Dojo module resource added. And our script block looks quite different, where we're just calling register module path, and we have to give that our namespace and then the URL to get to that namespace. So I do this here instead of hard coding it. That way we can put it in any directory we want, and it doesn't matter where, and it'll still be able to figure out where it's at. And then our dojo.require adds this scrollable pane resource to our XPage. And so that takes care of that for us. And also in our application page, you see we're laid out just like before. We have our application page with a heading, a div with a dojo type of redpill.dojox.mobile.scrollable pane, our same dojo attributes, and our data view, and then of course our tab bar. And so if we take a look at that, you can see it behaves just as the Domino 9 version. We still get the nice bounce. We can scroll back and forth, and we can open documents. And again, to show you that this tab bar is at the bottom, not because of the content within the scrollable pane, but because the functionality of the scrollable pane. That's still right. And to even, and to show that we're using our version of the scrollable pane, you can see here the path to our NSF along with Red Pill Dojo's Mobile Scrollable Pane. And if we open that up, our startup method is the same. And so that, to me, is a better solution than using the one in Domino 9. It certainly results in a lot less code that shows up on your X page. Now, if you would like to learn more about Dojo and XPages in general, the Dojo API documentation is excellent. It is version specific, and you can pick versions, I believe, going all the way back to 1.4, maybe even farther. And it's just a great resource for learning uh, what different Dojo widgets are available and what their methods and properties and events are. Um, whenever if you get deep into Dojo, you'll want to know this website because it is invaluable. Stack Overflow also has a great community of people just waiting and some fighting over to answer your questions. You'll want to look for questions tagged with XPages. XPages.info is just a great overall XPages resource. The IBM XPages Extension Library book, Chapter 10, which deals with mobile controls specifically. And of course, NotesIn9 is an awesome resource for everything XPages from beginner to advanced. But thank you for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it.
And that's the demo. I thank Keith for coming on the show. And if you have any questions, reach out to him because Lord knows I can't help you on something like that. But if you have any questions for me, here's my contact information, and I thank you for your time.